So today I thought I would read a little excerpt from my debut novel, The Crimson Highway. Just a little scene about a few pages long. I don't really know if I got the voice for it, but I thought it could still be pretty fun. So without further ado, this is The Crimson Highway, chapter 28, page 393. Lorenzo? Amalia called out nervously. Lorenzo's feline ears perked up, and he turned around. His cat-like pupils dilated in his confusion. You are speaking to me? He pointed to himself. Yes. Amalia turned to face him. Yes, I am. Both Amalia and Lorenzo looked at each other for a few awkward moments. Amalia's lips curled more and more downward the longer the silence went on. Amalia coughed into her hand. So, I got you something while I was in town. Lorenzo's ears twitched, and his eyes grew even more dilated. You got me, he pointed to himself again. Something? Yes, I did. Amalia sighed at the awkwardness and looked down to her feet. She pulled out the club, holding it out in both palms. I found this in one of the shops. The shopkeeper said it was from Polera, or not the shopkeeper, but the price tag, I suppose. The shopkeeper said it may not even be from Polera. She had no idea why she was rambling on. When I saw it, I thought of you, and I remembered what you told us in the tavern the night we arrived, and I thought. Amalia's eyes had shifted from her feet to the club, but did not wander beyond that. And I thought, she let out another sigh. I don't know what I thought. Amalia stared at the club, unable to shift her gaze away from it. Her heart thumped against her chest, and her fingers fidgeted around the club as she held it. She considered just walking away and telling Lorenzo to forget all about it, to forget this ever happened. Then, a pair of trembling, cat-like hands gently grasped the club. Amalia let out a small gasp and finally looked up at Lorenzo. She had imagined all manner of reactions from him, but she never could have expected what she saw. Lorenzo's ears were pulled back against his scalp. His eyelids narrowed in on the club. His pupils were so dilated, his eyes were nearly pure black. And his eyes were glistening with unshed tears. He pulled on the club slowly, gently from Amalia's grasp. His tearful gaze fell upon the carvings above the handle, the pads on his fingers rubbing at the primitive depictions of big cats. Why would you get this for me? Lorenzo asked, his voice thick with confusion, but there was overwhelming emotion in it as well. Amalia was almost speechless, but seeing the near reverence in his tearful eyes, she found the courage to reply. I thought it would remind you of home, of where you came from. Lorenzo choked back a sob as his shoulders and arms began to shake, and from his eyelid rolled a single tear. Lorenzo closed his eyes and inhaled deeply, his fingers still rubbing at the carvings on the club. He opened his eyes and turned to Amalia. His lips quivered a bit before they curled into a smile. Thank you, Amalia. Amalia's heart fluttered, and she could only smile in return. You're welcome. Lorenzo turned back to the club, smiling as he gauged its weight in his hands. He gripped it in his right hand and spun it in his grasp. He sheathed it in his belt beside his sword. I will wield it well, with honor. Thank you again. Lorenzo gave Amalia a deep bow. Amalia gave him a bow in return. Then Lorenzo took his leave, striding over to meet with Harlan, Bianca, and Eva. Amalia dug into her pack and pulled out the book on legends. She looked over the cover before making her way over to the wagons. She had spent 300 copper shillings on that club, and it was worth every last coin. Well, if that little excerpt from my novel piqued your interest, you can find it either on my website at www.brettstatro.com, or you can find it on its Amazon page by searching in The Crimson Highway in Amazon search. Thank you for listening.